What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be making a very simple and very straight ahead basic planet in Photoshop. This should be pretty good for beginners. I'm going to break it down step by step, hopefully have a little bit of fun along the way, and let's get to it. Let's make a new document. We're going to go inches, and we want something that is slightly vertically rectangular. So let's say for width, let's go 9, and for height, let's go 11. 300 dpi, RGB color, and hit create. Cool. Now we got a big black rectangle. Hey, big black rectangle. Let's double click on this background layer here. Hit OK. Let's add our first element. We're going to hit M, Shift Command N, circular marquee tool, drag from the center, holding Shift and Option. And we're going to fill it in with black with no feather happening, and we should get a proper black circle. And we're going to make a new layer here above this background layer. And we're going to hit G for the gradient tool. Double click on here. Let's get ourselves a very simple black to white gradient. Something like that. We're going to take the opacity down just a bunch on that. And I'm going to set this to screen, which is going to allow all this black to drop through, just giving me this kind of white. And I'm going to just leave this behind this. This is just an indicator of a light direction. Now on this layer, I'm going to hit Command A. Go into the Move tool. After that, you're going to see these. So this one is kind of your alignment tools up here. So this one is going to give me a center alignment, and this one here is going to give me a vertical center alignment. Hooray! Next thing we're going to do is, well, we need some shit to fill in this black circle because we want to make a planet. So we're going to do what anybody would do, and we're going to steal a bunch of crap from Google Earth. The least they can do for stealing all our data. So I've got Google Earth open here, and I'm just going to grab myself some ground textures. No big deal, easy peasy lemon squeezy. So with holding down, depending upon if you got a PC or a Mac, I'm going to hit Shift Command 4. And I'm just going to grab this nugget. And let's take a little trip around the world here. This looks like a good nugget. Let's take this nugget. And let's continue our little jaunt around the globe. And let's go over here to like Death Valley. And this looks like some nice textures here. Let's grab these. Very nice. All right, so now we've got our 3 little screenshots that we're going to use to build this up and make ourselves a very basic planet here. Back to Photoshop. We're going to open these screenshots that we just took. And we're going to open these bad boys up. 1, 2, 3. We really only grabbed 3 here. We're going to open them up. We're just going to pull these into this document very, very easily here. Boom. Boom. And boom. Now let's grab another one. I just want something a little more rocky. Let's grab this. Neat. Oh, if everything was just this easy. And we got this, you go in there, and where'd that other guy go? And you also go in here. Let's see, which one's going to be a good base for our planet? Yeah, let's go with this one. And what we're going to do is hold down Option. And you see that it gives me the little arrow here to make our alpha clipping hero awesome layer that makes everything in this layer only affect what's there. I'll make it a little bigger. just to kind of fill the space in there. No big deal. Cool. Now we're going to hold down the command key, and clicking on this little window here is automatically going to select this shape. Fantastic. Now we're still on this layer here, our kind of over it texture layer. Alright, so we're going to go to filters. I'm sorry you can't see this top menu here. I'm just recording a small part of my screen. Filter, distort, and spherize, which pretty much just makes everything bulge. And if you kind of do the slider here, you can see what's happening. We're going to hit OK and watch what happens. So now before and after. It's got a little more dimension to it, feels a little better. Step 2. Let's grab another one of these. And maybe, or maybe not, we don't want this to fill the whole thing. We can do that with very simply just masking or even erasing parts out that you don't like. So again, option, put this one down, and now this one will only affect the one below it. I'm just going to take the opacity down just a little bit, kind of get an idea of what I'm doing, and I'm going to hit E for eraser. I'm going to pick myself out a soft round brush without too much opacity, and we're just going to kind of derace. We're just going to derace these, right? Just a little bit to blend this in a little bit. And now you guessed it, same thing. I'm going to hit Command, select this circle because this is our action area where the party's happening, and we're going to go to Filter. Again, we're going to go to Distort, and we're going to hit Spherize, just to sphere it up. I don't really need to zoom out. You kind of know what it's going to do. Not bad. Now, one of the things you can do, because we're making alien planets here that don't really exist, gives you a lot of latitude. Play with these color modes. You see what they're going to do with each other. So depending upon the vibe of your planet, how close it is to its star, things of that nature, you can get yourself into the world that you're looking for just by playing with these color modes a bit here. So we get lots of fun stuff. That's fun. It's kind of like a rocky, icy world. And there's no wrong here. So let's pick one just for right now. I'm going to go with this one. Yeah, that's kind of nice, right? I'm going to deselect that. Very cool. Let's throw on another one, shall we? So one thing I'm imagining here, possibility, you know, if this is what we would call like a tidally locked planet, right? That circles maybe a red dwarf star, right? Those, the sun is only going to hit one side of this planet at all times, so you're going to have basically a scorched side, an ice side, and then some stuff in between. Or this could be, you know, an Earth-like planet that's a little farther away from a different kind of star that spins and is normal. I mean, the great thing is that really, guys, it's completely up to you. And since there's no wrong here, you could just kind of just have a lot of fun. So distort, again, spherize our guy. And let's play with the blending modes again. Right, so that's kind of interesting, right? We've got this kind of scorched red with these little bits of blue. That's a little darker, kind of fun. That's kind of like a molten ball of hate. You know, it's tough because I kind of like a bunch of these. Like this one's pretty cool too. I'm not... Oh, decisions. Let's go with this. Let's take the opacity down just a little bit here. And we're starting to get something that kind of looks like it has a little bit of depth. But what I'd like to do now is add another layer over top of all of these. And that's going to be kind of a gradient layer. Let's create a little bit more depth here, right? Our light is coming from the top, and the bottom of the planet is going to be darker. So very simply, we're just going to, with the gradient tool again, I'm going to hit the letter G on the keyboard. We've got this kind of black and white blended here, and we're just going to do this. Let's put this over there. Let's set this to multiply, right? Because multiply takes out all the white, or sorry, drops out all the whites, and screen drops out your blacks. All right. That's not perfect. Let's take it down just a little scoochy boochy. Well, I think what I would like here, let's do one more of these. Same thing with the magic layer. We're going to hit option, make sure they all have the little arrows. Hello, little arrows. And we'll do like a manual one, right? I'm going to select this, you know, pretty much just black and with a big ass brush. I'm going to just do so get a little curvature. Merge these down if you want, and now we've got this type of thing. And we want to bring some of this information through. So if we double click on this side part here, we'll get this awesome window. And what we want to do is play with these little sliders. Right, so if I hold down option and drag this, it's going to separate these. If I just drag it, it's going to do this. So by holding down option and dragging these, we're getting kind of a kinder, gentler mode here. And you can go in here and let's say we want to pull greens through, right? Hit this here, it's going to pull some greens through. Maybe it pulled too much green through. Let's take that down just a little bit. Yeah, why not? Now let's do the inverse of that and create a little bit of a highlight up here. Another new layer right over the top. And now with a very light color, pretty much white with a big soft brush, I'm just going to paint this top edge here. It's a little orangey. Let's go basically white. Tap, 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 tappy, tap, tap, tap. And just nice and easy build it up. It's not a 100 brush, it's kind of a mellower brush, 70%, 40%. And with that big brush, we're just gonna go. Now you see it kind of flattens everything out. So again, we're gonna go into our little buddies here. We're gonna double click on that. Now let's see if we can't get some of this information to kind of pop through by hitting option and dragging this slider. And we get that, right? If I turn this layer off, we see that everything kind of becomes white. Cool, so now you see already we're getting a little bit more depth here. So the next thing I want to do is I want to add some stars in the background. You can draw stars, or we can go on the internet and did you know that all of the Hubble and NASA space photography that you see is all common use and royalty free? Another Hubble image, which is very cool. It's pretty small, but we're just gonna make it frickin' huge and see how it holds up when we make it big. And we're gonna take this and we're gonna put it kind of behind everything. Yeah, it's a little blurry, but like, hey, guess who doesn't care? Now let's get rid of this one. You can paint these in and out as you like, but for right now, I mean, I think this is an indicator that there are stars. Cool. I'm gonna make a new layer here above all of this jazz, and we are going to with a big soft brush with white, just from the top, using the side of the brush here. I'm just gonna start indicating that there is some light kind of coming from this general direction, right? Nothing too crazy, just a little dollop of light. You can play with it if you think it's too much, maybe it's too heavy-handed. Feel free to layer up different ones, like make one, lower the opacity, and add another one on top of it, and just build them slowly. And that indicates that we do have some light coming from this general direction. Okay, I'm gonna merge these two kind of layers down, and in that way I can, and I do that by just clicking on the one above and hitting Command E, and that will merge them down. Alrighty, now we want to add a little bit of atmosphere that you're going to see on this planet, right? So I'm going to duplicate this planet base layer. I'm going to hit Command I on the keyboard. That's going to invert it. You see this gave me this little kind of ring, this line around here. And we're going to go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, Now it's a little too heavy-handed, so I'm just gonna hit Command T, Option and Shift, and decrease it a little bit so I'm just getting this kind of glow here. And I'm a little more interested in having it at the top than the bottom. And just by moving it up a little bit with the arrow keys on the keyboard, it's kind of been removed, right? If I move it down a little bit, you know, you see it under there. It's nice to have a very small amount of it just to indicate that this is this form here. But for the most part, it's sticking up there, and this gives us a little indication of some atmosphere. So we got this planet here, and let's give it a little sci-fi zhuzharinio. That's right, you guessed it. We're going lens flare. So we're gonna make a new layer above this by holding Shift Command N. And yep, and we're gonna have to fill this layer in black, because if you try to apply a lens flare on an empty layer, it's gonna be like, no. So we want it to be like, sure. So we get this black layer, we're gonna go to Filter. We are going to go to Render, Lens Flare. All right, and you can move these things around here. And since this is about something like this, I want it to be nice and straight because our light source is coming directly from above. And we're gonna hit OK. We've got this in here, and now we're just left with that. So we want to take this layer and go into our blending modes and turn that to screen, right? And this is gonna drop all the blacks out. It's a little heavy-handed, so we're just gonna move this guy up a bit. And we've got ourselves a little lens flare, for better or for worse. Let's take the opacity down just a little bit. It's like really in our face here. All right, we're in a decent place right now. Now, I purposely left a little bit of space up here, and also, since all of these are on their own layers, it's a very simple matter to take all these planet nuggets and just scooch them down a little bit by holding down Shift. Right, that'll give us a nice solid vertical. If I let go of Shift, we're all over the place, but I hit Shift again, and we're just gonna take it down a little scoochy boochy. Cool. Now I'd like to add a little piece of typographic goodness up here on the top. And I know you didn't sign up for a typography lesson, but this is gonna be quick, and this is pretty important actually. So we're gonna go into Adobe Illustrator, test study here, but we're gonna make a new document so we can start over. And we're just gonna type a bunch of crap. So we're gonna name this planet whatever you want. But we're just gonna name this LV-718. I'm gonna say red dwarf star. And we're gonna say, we're just gonna add a bunch of imaginary numbers here. And we're just gonna say, just for the sake of having some numbery goobly-goop here, I'm just gonna type in 421.75 plus dash minus 3.14. Cool, that looks like something. All right, so now we've got these little typographic elements. It's in pretty much our standard font. One thing I always like to do is I just duplicate this, right? So I've got one that I can screw with, and let's pick a typeface for all this. Do not go on the font and pick the most over-the-top, science fiction, ridiculous typeface. Pick a typeface family that has lots of different cuts in it, like Helvetica. I know you're gonna be like, Helvetica. But we're not going to use Helvetica. We're going to use Universe, because it's another typeface that has fantastic amount of cuts in it. And this is a space thing, so it just feels a little more appropriate. Alrighty. So we're going here, and now what we want to do is create a little bit of, you know, it's just like our drawings, right? Our illustrations. We want to create contrast. We want to use concepts like repetition and size scaling to create a little bit of drama. So we're going to go in here, and we're going to take this one, and we're going to make it light ultra condensed. And we're going to take these guys down here, and I think I want them. And we're going to go thin ultra condensed. And we see now we've got kind of 3 different weights of these typefaces, and that's already a little more interesting. Now we're going to go into our little rectangle tool here. I'm going to make a square. And I want that to have a stroke on it, right? Just be an outline. And now we've got a square. Cool. Now I'm going to same little box there, ellipse tool. I'm going to hold down Option and Shift, and that's going to give me a perfect circle. If I let go of those things, I get stuff happening. So I just want this circle to be close to the same size as this, but to give me a little bit of space top and bottom. For what we want to do, this is fine. Right? Now, since we're talking about star systems and stuff, a very easy device that we can use to kind of indicate that maybe this is one planet out of many and also create a little bit more dynamic composition. I'm just going to make some circles. There's circle number 1. And let's pretend that there's 5. There's circle. Maybe the best way to do is to just copy and paste these. So I just click on here. If I hold down Option, if I drag it, it will duplicate it. We'll make this one a little bigger. And again, we don't want these strokes to change. So we're going to go 0.5 again. We could do that all after. All right, 1 planet, 2 planet, red planet, blue planet. Now let's change the sizes of these, right? Holding down Option. I feel like this one should be very small because this is the one that's closest to the star. Alright, it's probably burnt to shit. There we go, Kyle. Small. I want to create something a little dynamic. Let's bring these all in. And we also suggesting that somehow these planets, this is an indicator of maybe their space or how they're kind of dispersed. And I want to grab all of these and just make sure that the strokes are the same. So I go 0.5 and they're all the same. And we're going to take this one and we're going to reverse those. And that's going to indicate that this planet that we are doing is this planet, right? Yeah, no need to really overthink this too much. So now we got our little typographic nuggets. I'm going to duplicate them again by holding down Option and drag, and I'm going to hit Shift Command O, which is going to convert these to outlines, right? So now these aren't really pieces of typography anymore. These are just, lines. It's artwork, quote unquote. And then I'm going to hit Shift Command G, and that's going to ungroup these and allow me to kind of drag them around as buddies. So we're going to put this one right here. And lining up on these, line everything up. If you like typography, then you'll like lining shit up. So use a guide. It's not that deep, but if it was really misaligned, your eye would see it and you'd be wondering why it was just didn't really look right. Now we're gonna grab these guys and we're gonna put them under here using the same guide, right? And maybe these are gonna be a little smaller. Right, so we're creating a hierarchy. Just like in an illustration, you want a place where your eye goes first. And then you have secondary elements. Command double dots, and that's going to show your guides and hide your guides. And boom. Just like that, we've got a little guy, a little thing here. Alright, we're just going to select all of that. We're going to copy it, we're going to go back to Photoshop, and we're just going to paste this sucker on the top. Let's go pixels, let's see how big it is. That's about the right size. I'm going to hit Command I, and that's going to invert this. And we've got just a little piece of typographic goodness right here. Just kind of spices this up, sets it off just a bit. I don't hate it. I don't like the color of it. We're not 100% sure that this is our planet yet, but we're just going to go into, we double click on that layer, get back into our happy window with all of our little buddies here, and we're going to use color overlay. I'm going to click on here, and that's going to allow us to color pick a color from our composition without having to guess. So we're going to pick a light tone, but that's about right. That's kind of tan, and I'm okay with that. Can you dig it? I kind of dig it. All right, now this planet looks a little, it could be a little less flat. We can pop this a little bit. So we're gonna go back into our little planet base configuration here with all of our little magic layers above it, and we're gonna make another one. All right, we are going to make another one by hitting the little plus. We're gonna hit Option and put this one here. And let's go with a white, just straight up white, with a big soft brush right on the planet. Really at the top here is what I want. A common mistake that we all make, especially in the beginning, is that you make a layer and then you start doing your painting and you're wondering why it's not really working. And a lot of times you'll make a new layer accidentally painting on the wrong layer. And just keep an eye on this kind of palette over here, and you're going to find yourself doing what you need to do. Right? Back into that thing, double click. Let's pull some shit through. Let's see, can we get any little nuggets coming through here? A little something, right from that to that. I'll take it. I'll take the opacity down just a little bit. And one thing we're also going to have is a little bit of return bounce light on the bottom here. Just a little bit. So again, big soft brush, making sure it's one of these magic layers. Just using the edge of the brush. Oop, that's pretty heavy-handed. Let's get down here and make this a little more chill. Just the edge of the brush. Just that. And take the opacity on that down a bit. Next thing we want to do is let's play with the color a little bit. So one thing we can do, very simply, we're going to go into our adjustment layers here, the black and white cookie, and we are going to hit Use Saturation. Hit colorize, and let's just have a little fun. What is our color palette here? Well, if this is a red star, then it's going to be kind of orangey red, right? So we've got this, and let's get into our blending modes, and let's find a happy place. You see, we're just looking for happy accidents. That's why this is actually kind of fun. Because you have an idea what you're doing, and then all of a sudden it's just becomes something else. So for right now, I mean, I'm a big fan of overlay and soft light in general. I think we go soft light. Let's take the opacity down a bit. It also makes it a bit more contrasty, which you may or may not like. You can always pump the lightness up a little bit. And now we've got kind of a little bit of a warmer palette here. We're going to take it down a little bit. It doesn't need to be too much. It's a small effect. And there we have it. Now we can keep going in here. You can keep adding textures. You can keep playing with these. You can get all kinds of cool stuff. But for right now, for what we were trying to do here, to make a planet that just is serviceable, has some sort of basic scientific foundation for it, right? Like it's not just a ball of rocks, even though this looks pretty much like a ball of rock, you know, it's okay. Because again, there's no rules for this type of thing. And just to recap, we're using the marquee tool to make circles. We're stealing images. We're borrowing images from Google Earth or wherever you can find them. And we're using the Spherize filter. Lord have mercy. And we're using a little bit of lens flare, and we're just painting in a little gradients. And if you look at this file, look how simple this file is. There is so few layers here. Now, if you really want to freak this out, you can go into get some more Hubble images, right? And let's do this super quick. Let's do Hubble Galaxy. Hubble Galaxy. High res. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. It's all cool. It's so cool. Space is pretty neat. That's something that we can use. We're just looking for a little indicator of some kind of galactic clouds type of vibe. What about this guy? What about this guy? Yeah, fuck it. Yeah, 3,000 pixels. That's all the pixels you can handle. And we drag this guy in here. Let's put him in the back. Pretty awesome. And it doesn't look right. So what we're going to do is just hit Command L and we're going to push these blacks down. All right, so look at that. That just gives us a little love nugget. And you can play with it. Maybe we want it to go this way and this pulls your eye in. I mean, this is your world here. You know, anywhere you like. You can make it huge. Cool. I can take the opacity down a little bit. It's a little bit taking over. And there you go. Just like that. You have got a perfectly serviceable outer space scene that you can use for your backgrounds or whatever it is. And you could probably bang this thing out super fast next time in just a few minutes. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and we will catch you on the next one. Peace out, guys.